Islam, Peace, Hotep, and everything else. Welcome once again to Canaanland Moors Tuesday class. Today's Q&A day. So we got, a few questions, which is good. You know what I mean? People getting out of their little shyness and starting to ask questions. All right, so we got some questions we're going to deal with. Before we get there, we got to send Islam to all the Moors worldwide because I think we got Bermuda just jumped on board. So there's Moors in Bermuda now that are, looking at class and taking in the info. You know what I'm saying? So Islam to those Moors for stepping in or stepping up, and stepping out of her because everybody knows Babylon's falling right now. All the songs people been singing, times right now going on, right? Babylon is burning down and all that is right now. So nationality up. Don't worry about what we're gonna do when stuff falls. You better know you guys should have a nationality before stuff falls. Because when stuff falls, you know, everybody for themselves. So, it's all about being national, connecting yourself to a nation. Because keep in mind, the Moabites, which is us, right, are 100 bailiffs, right? So we have the force, right? We have the force to manipulate all the powers out there. Just this one thing called nationality, right? This one thing. So Islam to everybody who's on a national mindset, constitutional mindset, and studious mindset, um, and not taking lightly our wrongs on ourselves. Instead of blaming stuff, you know what I mean? Blaming things in the air and things under the ground and something guy over there or whatever. Mirror first, and then go from the mirror, and then go check everybody else's stuff. Make sure you check your backyard, make sure your stuff's proper, and then talk about people's tall grass. All right? We know, as usual, that there's been a suppression of information as far as Noble Drew Ali is concerned, right? So we're just going to put out some words of the prophet to get it out there in the ethers so it could continue, so it can be perpetual, okay? Um, because there's a lot of people on social media. You know, that when it comes to Moors and social media, everybody wants to quote Noble Drew Ali said something, and how come you're not doing whatever, right? Everybody wants to quote something, right? But Noble Drew Ali told the Moors think to save yourself, right? He said study, study, study. He said think. Among 50,000 million other things that he said, right? That goes over people's head because everybody, including myself, we get distracted from the prophet. And it is extremely important that we recognize that everything that he brought, he said. Everything that is for you, he gave you in his writings. Right? Everything. Right? So because he did such miraculous things, right? Because he did such miraculous things, like all the other prophets that came, right? Or like all the other prophets that came, he's going to get backlash. right? But that's okay, because we already know that only the Savior could carry the burden, right? So all the whatever that naysayers and all that, that's expected, right? So we have to recognize that with what he brought us, if we take it for what it says right there, forget what Cujo and I was watching this thing and he said that Noble Drew Ali said something. You read the stuff for yourself. Because when you read it for yourself, you realize that everything that Noble Drew Ali said, he's talking to you directly. He's not talking to, you know what I mean, people who aren't down with this. He's talking with the person reading this, right? Whoever's reading, that's who he's talking to. So if there's an individual called a prophet, and in his literature, he wrote it so that the reader can recognize that he's talking to them as they're reading this, right? That means that there's interaction. That means there's contracting, right? That means there's offer and acceptance, right? Because remember, nobody denies anything Noble Drew Ali says, right? So if he's presenting it to you in that fashion, right? He's presenting it to you in that fashion, that he's talking to you personally. And then he puts out a book called Moorish, or puts out an article called Moorish Quran Questions for Moorish Children, right? And it's named 101, 101, right? And his words being read to you shows that he's dealing with you one-on-one. So you and him have a personal relationship with regard to this relationship with Allah, that he's trying to tell us all we have to do is use this and we'll get back there. Everybody's trying, get caught up watching the game, get caught up watching something, get caught up, go to some club or whatever, right? When it's like real serious times right now. So you look about outside of the quote unquote black community, Negro, African American, whatever, outside of that community, right? People are preparing themselves, or people are straight taking what other people have just because you're a ward, I'm taking your stuff. Simple as that. You're a ward, oh yeah, you got a bank account, whatever, okay, we're taking your stuff, right? Don't forget, nobody talked about all those people who couldn't get into their bank account on July 1st. And this is stuff that Noble Drew Ali talked about in 1913. Take your money out of the bank, and you read Noble Drew Ali's literature, and a European came to, visit the Prophet. Tell him thank you. European. A European's coming to tell the Prophet thank you, right? That he listened to the Prophet and took his money out the bank before the stock market crashed. This is what, just one European. We're not even talking about the ones who didn't come say thank you, or the ones who came and nobody documented, right? Come to tell the Prophet thank you, because he heard, a European heard Noble Drew Ali say, take your money out the bank before the stock market crashed, right? No, right? No, where the fraud is that they say stock market crashed in 1933. That's the talk, that 1933 stock market crash. Okay, but Noble Drew Ali died in 1929, and this European came to talk to him in 1929, talking about the stock market crash, and he was coming to thank the Prophet, right? And when you study Noble Drew Ali, this is how you piece together stuff to realize really what's going on. Really, why they really get him out of the way? Why did 7 days, right, after Haile Selassie met with JFK, he got assassinated. 7 days, right? And you know JFK is down with the bring back the gold standard and all that, right? Which is the same thing Noble Ali telling people take their money out of the bank for, because it's not protected in there, right? So all these things he laid out, and once you study those things, you'll understand what's going on. Because he said he came to forget about all the um, theories that Noble Drew Ali said something, right? What he said, it is documented and it is accessible to the public on the internet. That print, you can print off 5 different things from 5 different websites, right? Dealing with Noble Drew Ali and his literature, and put them side by side by side, and then read all of them, and then you find out where the fraud is. Just like how I did. If you really want to know who's playing you, just go to all these guys' sites and just print out all the stuff, and then you'll find the missing pieces to know that these guys, what do these guys try it? What do you mean partial? What's partial, right? So we have religious controversy, and we're just putting the titles out there, right? We put the title, we read some, and then go because we got the questions or whatever, right? We're not going to be reading all of these to you because when you read it, it's a different perspective than being told. So when you read it and you realize after this, first 10 minutes or whatever, okay, so that means he's talking to me or whatever. Okay, let me go back and read everything again so I can actually get it from the right perspective, because I thought it was just, he's talking to the Moors. Technically, yeah, he is, but it's a little bit more personal than that, right? Because again, he's a prophet, so he knew the sellout was coming, so he knew that he had to just give it to you from the jump, right? And when you read what he brought, it'll make you go do more research automatically, because there's going to be things that he talks about, and you're like, what do you mean by that? And you research, right? So religious controversy, this is one. In this age, there is still much religious controversy as to the right thing. Big and powerful ministers have come to the conclusion that something is wrong. Some say it is the Ten Commandments. Others say there is a lack of sincerity in the purpose of the churches. Still others think it is all worthless and not fit for the time to take to attend them. However, or whatever their final decision might be, it is certain they will make a charge, or rather try to make one. The fact of the matter, so he's stating his point now, the fact of the matter is that they have always had only a reflection of the truth and not the real thing. Like one who holds up to the sun a mirror and casts a few of its diverted rays in a different direction, so have they done with the truth that is supposed to have come from the east. Supposed to have come from the east. There are but few people who know what the truth is about man, and that few know that it is foolish to try to impart it to the ignorant. Right? So we'll stop there. Religious controversy. That's a Noble Drew Ali writing, literature. That's online, it's accessible, so you can go get it, frame it, do your little watermark magic, put a picture of the prophet behind it, put it in a frame, put it on your shrine, because remember, prophets passed, so he's an ancestor, so you could honor the stuff that he said like that, and you can invoke him, right? Second one, the Moral Science Temple of America. The Moral Science Temple of America was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs. It is desirable. To this desirable end, in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. It is most earnestly hoped, right? So this is like underline, big thick underline, right? Bold letters, okay? It is most earnestly hoped that the Morris Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. Right? So that's the Morris Science Temple of America, reading by or writing by Noble Drew Ali. Right? And we'll stop there for all those people who want to say, Noble Drew Ali said Africa, so why are you down with Africa? He wasn't down with Africa. Okay? He told you it is most earnestly hoped that the Morris Science Temple of America will not, right, in any way, so that's the second, right, so will not, and then in any way, be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Any. I don't care what it's called. If they're talking about Back to Africa and because they came over here as slaves and all that, we don't want to hear it. Nothing personal, but Noble Drew is a prophet, and like, show me what Africa did for you since you've been in your own land that you said you came from somewhere else, but the people where you say you came from aren't doing nothing to help you get back there. On top of that, they're all coming here. What's good?
Good boss.
I'm good, yo. He said. You all right?
Yeah. Running around.
Right? So don't be fooled with people coming and bringing, controversy about Noble Drew Ali was down with Africa and he said Africa, so that means he's down with whatever. No, he's talking historically. He's not talking domestically or conceptually. He's talking as a historical perspective. If you're going to talk about some place called Africa over there, but Atlantic or whatever and all that stuff, okay. But we're not saying we're African people. We're not saying we're trying to go back there or we have any connection to there other than historically. Right? So they can dead that one. Right? Next one, nickname. Okay? When the forefathers of the Moorish Americans were first brought to this nation, they had a nationality and a name. But in order to separate them from the achievements of their fathers, a name was given to them which had no connection whatever to the founders of civilization. They were nicknamed Negroes. Today, in this nation, there is no such thing as Negroes in the sense that they are called. Just why so many of the intelligent Americans will continue to cling to this nickname is hard to understand. Right? And then Negro, black, colored, African, whatever else down the line. Right? Our dollars and cents. The doctrine of economic security is by no means as widespread and intensive among Americans of our group as the circumstances demand, and the more written and said on the subject, the better. We need to more earnestly urge conscientious support of the businesses, men and women of our group in their chosen fields of endeavor. The greater the success of their business enterprises, the more open gates of opportunity there will be for our youth of today and tomorrow. Think of this fact. We need to urge that our businesses, men and women, build on the principle of service. We need to urge greater cooperation among them to render courteous, honest, and efficient service by the buying public. They should not expect any support in patronage merely on the grounds that they are race men and women in business, for the reasons that the service and the quality of their goods and products they sell are equal in value to the service and merchandise offered to the buying public by any other business people. Right? Laying it down since 1913 so we can get our stuff straight. But nobody wants to listen to him. Because funny hat guy. The guy with the funny hat. Dressing like he's a gypsy. Yeah, he was. You only know what a gypsy was. The members of the Moorish Science Temple. Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds, that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near. So says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. Right? To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's what that one's called. And then you can just read more. Right? Laying it down for us. Right? So that we can have a clear perspective. It's not, you know what I mean? In the ethers and behind Saturn, there's something for us to go claim over there. Right? He's talking about right here, right now. Right? Because he's a prophet. He's already seen what. Why are we not going to follow him? He's already seen everything that's going to happen, that's coming or whatever. Told the European, take your money out the bank.
Save money.
Right? The European said, let me just listen to this guy.
Let's see if it's true.
Let me just see what happens.
At the end of the day, you don't want to lose his money.
Right? And then on top of that, forgot that part, goes to check the prophet, find out the prophet's dead, and he's there bawling his eyes out. Because he can't thank this man. Where's that little man that used to do all the stuff? Oh, he died. What do you mean he died? Like I was just going like, tell him, like he said me like, I was just gonna donate like $50-100 million to the temple. Like that's exactly what was gonna happen. Huh? Right? It was one of those guys. Right? One of those Europeans there. That, you know, even if he gives that, he still has another, you know, that ain't nothing for him. Right? And then that's why all the black whoever, right, hates the prophet. Because they're saying, oh, he's hiding with Europeans. You're not siding with nobody. You're not no friends with nobody. They recognize what's up. Right? And what are they supposed to be, right? Because check what's going on, huh? Remember, me and Amor were talking about this last night. Remember, when Noble Drew Ali died, right? In 1929, assassinated, whatever you want to call it. He was the Sultan of Morocco at that time.
You understand what that means.
If you really understand what's going on, that's really who he was at that time. Right? That's really what he was wielding.
You can't have that.
So these Europeans now that are coming to say, oh hey, I know Drew Ali Moorish Science Temple, you know, his donation or whatever. Isn't that the same taxes that they were supposed to be paying since George Washington times to the Sultan, that he admitted in the letter that they weren't paying? Right? That's their perspective of why they're giving the fiat or the money or whatever they have that they're given.
Yeah.
That's their perspective. Negro black color guys look like, oh yeah, he's a European, he's getting money from the European. He's a sellout. He's working with Arabs, enslaving people and stupid shit like that.
Not I'm getting back our back taxes.
Not we're getting back the back taxes. Right? Masterpiece of religious literature, secrets of other creeds revealed. Right? Again, you just punch it in. Masterpiece of religious literature, secrets of other creeds revealed, and then put Noble Drew Ali, and then you Google it, and then they'll come up. But you know, it's the age of knowing right now. So you can get the information anywhere, and if you know, if you really want to, yeah, okay, fine, go to the temple and go get it from there. You know what I mean? But you know, don't get mad when it's taking you 5 years to get stuff. You know what I mean? You could have just Googled the stuff instead of going over there.
You're following people.
Right? Again. You know what I mean? Right? The Prophet Noble Drew Ali has spent many hours preparing the latest edition of the Quran, which will be a masterpiece of religious literature. To Americanize the Oriental idea of Islam. Wait a second.
Oriental.
The Oriental idea of Islam? What's the Oriental idea of Islam? Where's he going? What's he trying to say? I thought Islam started with some Turks and some Arabs. How come he's talking about the Oriental idea of Islam and Americanizing it with something called the Quran, right? Which supposedly is supposed to be some Arab stuff, but he's relating it to the Orient. Right? Interesting. But only if you read what Noble Drew Ali said. If you're going to listen to people, then you get lost, you get injured, and then you're blaming the information. Or you're blaming somebody who told you something.
Yeah, quick to blame.
You know what I mean? When man's laying it down. To Americanize the Oriental idea of Islam involves many changes that are more or less negative to the main purpose of the Islamic religion. Changes that are more or less negative, right? To the main purpose of the Islamic religion. Such changes are carefully considered with the idea to avoid changing the complexion of the original text. Okay? That's why he says, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali. Divinely prepared. They're not authored by him or nothing like that. It's prepared by him. Right? And he went and got the lessons that were missing for us to get the full perspective of, you know, what's going on, and put it in this little booklet. That wasn't a booklet at the time, right? So the Moors could be saved.
Watching
The philosophy of the ancient prophets is the main initiative in the compilation of the Quran. No thoughts of propaganda enter this work, as has been the case of many former religious works, such as the Bible and other books of creed. Right? And then he backed that up with the chapter about getting rid of Christianity, leave that to the Europeans. That's for their earthly salvation. Were you messing around in Christianity? When you have a prophet that brought back the Oriental idea of Islam, Americanized, right?
So you could understand.
So you can really get what's going on. Don't want it. Want to go listen to these jokers, right? Trying stuff. You're gonna be trying stuff, right? So questions. So first set of questions. Krishna Ashira Bey. First question. Noble Drew Ali tells us to stay out of European courts and that we have our own. I have read, however, that our Moorish consular courts no longer exist due to non-use. Is this true? Or is that our courts regain life as we regain life as well. So with the first question, you answered the question with your question because really that's what it's about, right? Because our position that we're in right now, right? The reason why it's the reason why things seem like a headache, right? Like we have to go when we go to court and send papers and they don't want to accept it and they want to because more than do what they were supposed to do from 1913, which is uplift all humanity, right? And Noble Drawley did it all by himself. Back then, he got all those hundreds of thousands of members and few faithful with him, you know what I mean, that were doing what we're supposed to do, right? So our forget trying to do stuff. Forget trying to go to whatever. How about keep your ass out of trouble, right? And go uplift fallen humanity. Because even if we have a consular court, and pay attention to what we're saying, right? Even if we have our own court that we say this European violated me or whatever like that, he didn't read the writs or whatever like that, and I want to sue him or whatever. And we bring them into the court, right? Their argument is going to be diversity. Diversity of citizenship. Because now they don't have any of their peers. So if we have our own court, our court is for us. Our court is for Moors to deal with Moors.
Yeah, not.
Our court has nothing to do with the Europeans. Because it's diversity of citizenship. Right? Unless it's some drug charge or something like that, trying to bring something into some country, right? You're not going to see Europeans in Chinese court. Only Chinese people go to Chinese court. What's a European doing in Chinese court?
Not.
Right? So, and with regard to consular courts, yes, consular courts in the 50s, there's been no consular courts, right? Prior to the 50s, if you go get Mukarabin files, right, you'll recognize that Moors weren't even using consular courts prior to the 1500s. They were still using the jurisdiction of the kangaroo court to do whatever it is that they were doing. Why? Because, again, go back to 1913, there's Moors, right, who weren't doing what they're supposed to do, and here we are, dealing with this mess that these guys created, right? Perfect example. I was watching a DVD the other day, and there was a Moor who nationalized in 1972, right? Like nationalized, like went to the Moor Science Temple of America or whatever since 1972. And he was in a class, right? And he was in a civics class. And in that civics class is the first time he heard about civics since 1972. So he's been in the temple since 1972.
I just heard about it.
And he's just hearing about civics in 2014. Right?
What class were you in?
Like, where were you? Where were you? If you don't know about improprium persona, you don't know about status, jurisdiction, you know what I mean? You have a license with the Bay, but you're paying tickets still. Like those ones. Right? That's what went on. Right? That, and remember, it has nothing to do with European nothing and all that stuff, right? Get the European out of our head. right? It's an inside operation. Why our stuff fell, right? It's an inside operation. Why our stuff fell by dumb idiots that are too incompetent, right, to realize that if you sell out your nation, you obviously have to give all the secrets. You're not gonna sell out and not give up the stuff. Who sells out and you're not giving up the stuff? Like you got something you could hide or whatever.
Trading whatever
Right?
for the whatever.
Trading whatever for the whatever.
That's what he's selling out.
Right? People following these people. Right? So, and for real, stay the hell out of trouble. Like for real, for real. You don't need to try nothing and try stuff and see. Let's see if all this works and let's like don't even go there. Go wake up some people.
Just try not to get.
Continue to study. Yeah, just try not to get got by those guys. And know that nationality is the order of the day. You have nationality as your, you know what I mean, ankle gun, right? And that's all. And that's all. Right? Right? Because you're not gonna go for the ankle gun unless it's really necessary to go for the ankle gun. Because majority of the stuff that we're dealing with, we could deal with, like, for example, with again, court stuff, right? You get a ticket for something, and you're just going to court, whatever amount it is, $50, $20, whatever, right? You can go as the freaking straw and get that dismissed.
Yeah, even as the straw.
Just because it's colored.
Mm-hmm.
It's not legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can go in there and tie it up. Right? But before you even get there to getting the ticket, we say, before you get in your car, you do like driving instructor in school, you do the walk around, check the freaking check, make sure the mirrors stuff and all that, make sure the bumpers, everything's, you know what I mean? All right, no stopping going on today. You might have a little ritual that you do when you get in the car, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And get the car engulfed in some, whatever, and then you go do your traveling, driving, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And then don't get stopped. Instead of, I don't get stopped because as soon as you go there, you're getting stopped. You just will yourself a stop. And then you're going to come pull out some papers that you never used before, but, you're not studying because, I wanted to watch the World Cup, but, you know what I mean? And I was just, then I ended up staying there till 10 o'clock and drinking, and I only had one drink, but and
turn into 2 drinks.
Turn into 5 drinks, and right, you get pulled over. And try to start a nationality and liquor on your breath or whatever. Like, right? Stay out of those people's stuff. Stay out of their stuff. Don't need to go up in there. Right? Why? How don't you go up in there? By keep your ass out of trouble. Like for real. Because these people are kidnapping people for nothing right now. Why even set yourself up? And if you're in something and you're going and dealing with that stuff right there, right? You have to pick your battles. No. Like, if you got nothing to lose, then hey, you know what I mean? Whatever. But if you got stuff to lose or whatever like that, and you gotta weigh out. You gotta weigh out. You gotta weigh out. You can't play with this because the Europeans aren't playing. Right? Got past like every week. Got about 3 calls from more. It's like, yeah, just got kidnapped. 11 days. 5 days. What happened? Just pulled me over. Like, what is going on right now? What is going on? You didn't do nothing? Just pulled over. They have to kidnap you. Just because. Show them nationality card. Got kidnapped. What? Right? So, watch out. Don't play with these people, man. Make sure your stuff is straight.
They don't want to honor the real deal, so they just come in on some sideways.
Because they're, like,
They're kidnapped.
right? And then they're going to kidnap you, and then they're going to use the same kangaroo court, right, to violate you. You know what I mean? Why? Because we're not waking up people. We have to wake up people. That's what the objective is. Wake up these people out here. Let these people know that they're being defrauded. Doesn't have to be no loudspeaker or nothing like that. But every time we have a conversation with somebody, if we have this knowledge, this has to be topic of discussion. If not, you ain't got nothing to talk about. Because, you know, obviously you're on slavery. Like, I can't tell you nothing. What am I going to tell you? What are we going to have a conversation about?
What are we going to talk about?
What are we really going to talk about? LeBron, which team, how is Cleveland going to win this year? Really? That's what we're going to talk about?
In real life, that's what
In real life? You know what I mean? Bread's molded in the fridge and all that stuff. You talk about LeBron. You man sneakers have holes or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Dad has the Jordans and the gold chain and you know what I mean? Man's diaper is dirty and all that. Talk about ball game. Like we don't have problems or something. Everybody watching us with our, you know, keep in mind, huh? Notice that only Europeans and so-called quote-unquote Asiatics, you know, Mexicans, Brazilians, you know, whatever, those are the only people that go in court. You don't see any other quote-unquote foreigners or whatever go in traffic court. Everybody that goes into those kangaroo courts are local people. Because anybody else, they don't got jurisdiction over. To stop them and give them nothing. Unless they're going 500 on a highway or something like that. But other than that, they're not stopping anybody. And why are they stopping? Because that's why we're telling people, yo, standing room only at class the other day. Because people are waking up out here.
I heard it was Philip.
People are waking up out here. Because that's really what it's about. Wake up the people. Not let's go claim something. And then we claim something, but then everybody else is Negroes.
Yeah.
So then how we benefit? If just we can write the travel and nobody else can write the travel that looks just like me. Right? Where, you know, it has to be us forcing them. You know what I mean? Because once we start exercising, right? Once we start exercising, you'll realize that court's really the society. Once more start waking up people out here, like really waking up people, not playing around with their little group club, whatever shit like that. Yo, stick to the prophet, push Noble Drew Ali as the focal point for people, right? What he brought, what he said. Forget what your temple said. Forget what your Grand Sheik, Supreme Grand Sheik, Amir, or whatever, whoever he is. Forget what all those guys said, right? It's only one Supreme Grand Sheik, one Grand Governor, one Grand whatever, and that's Noble Drew Ali. Him only. Right? And then go from there now. With the perspective, because remember, like we said, he's talking one-on-one, so he's giving you what his mindset is. He's giving you his mindset. He's transferring what's in his mind to you, personally. Like personally, you want to call it Reiki, you want to call it, you know, thought, projection, whatever, you know what I mean? Anything you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, right? That's what he did with the information for the Moors, right? So stay out those people's court. We don't have our own court, right? Court's really going to be the society when it really goes to the rule of law, right? If it really goes down to the rule of law, it's not going to be nothing about those kangaroo courts, because even the Supreme Court or whatever is a fraud. Those guys freaking done sold out, right? You could even go back to Muhammad Ali case and see how Supreme Court's been sold out, right? That man could walk off the freaking bench, and they're still going on with it. And it's diversity of citizenship at that point. They're not supposed to be hearing nothing. It's supposed to be only Asiatics on that Supreme Court. If the so-called defendant, plaintiff, whatever, is Asiatic, right? And then don't even talk about the international freaking guys, right? Because you already know how the bankers get down. You know, it's not no secret. It's not nothing that we have to play around with. Like, that's what it is. You know what I mean? All those UN declarations or whatever, those are no different than the resolutions. Just something they're just putting out there, you know, just putting this out there so people know that, you know, don't think that you could just trample on those rights, because if it really goes down to it, they could take your head and they could hold this up and say, that's why I did it. Because they're violating me, they're supremely violating me, right? But again, you have to do that as a nation. Can't do that as a 10 people. Yeah, you know, we took this guy's head because, you know, you guys are crazy people. You ain't taking nobody's head right now, right? So stay the hell out of trouble. Keep your ass in your house. Study, study, study. The only thing you should be going outside for, get some food or something like that. You know what I mean? If you got class to go to, if you got a business that you're running, you got your job that you go to, whatever like that. But yo, like, you know what I mean? If you can't stay home, then you always got a book on you or something, reading or something, man. Like, it's not that time right now. That for example, like, we're worried about courts and dealing with courts, right? You're not supposed to worry about no courts or whatever. Right? Remember that all this stuff was laid down since 1913. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine from 1913 if everything went how it was supposed to go, right? Where we would be right now at this point. Been having this knowledge. Mom, dad, granddad, great granddad, great 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 grandmom, great 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 grandmom, all of them had this info, right? So it's deliberate. Why they took away the consular court. They have motive. Why? Treaty of Verona. This destabilize all the republics in the Americas. That's why we don't have our own stuff, right? They've been doing what they're doing. It's nothing new. They've been on it. We're just getting on it. And because we're getting on it late, we're looking at it behind. You know what I mean? We're looking at the smoke like, wow, what's going on there? Don't realize that everybody's going that way. And we're standing here for, 500 years like, yo, where's oh, that ball of smoke's just getting smaller and smaller. Like, what is that down there? You know what I mean? And they want to talk about race pride and stuff like that. What do you mean? We're in the back. You don't know pride if you're in the back. You're losing the race talking about spending power? What are you talking about spending power? All you're buying is other people's stuff. Not buying none of your own stuff. Right? Question 2. The reason why we rep the Star Spangled Banner by hanging it next to our Moorish flag, as Noble Drew Ali also does in his photos, is it simply because we are currently under their occupation and are acknowledging that fact, or is it out of respect for our original union with the Europeans as was meant to be? These are my assumptions, but I would like to know the actual factual truth behind it. Islam more. So, once again, right, when we recognize that once we study what Noble Drew Ali brought, right? Once we study what Noble Drew Ali brought, right? He made us an adept. Once we study what he brought, he made us or makes us adepts by studying what he brought. So yes, we fly the flag because of the union. Because the union is not dead per se, right? Because if we take back over any European that's here, once you decide to live by the stuff, because this time around, we're sending you back if you violate something, right? If we're in the seat of power, how we're supposed to be. You can stay because, you're ipso germ subject. Whatever, just make sure you pay those back taxes and stuff, You know your family name or whatever. Y'all been here. They ain't paid nobody nothing. So once you pay your debt, then you can stay. Then you can chill. And we don't want to fee out either. Right? Because they are the illegal immigrants. You know what I mean? Right? And you know, it's for example, um, the European, right, that saved the money, right? He was supporting the temple because I'm sure he's seen that flag. So he knows it's not no, you know what I mean, black supremacist group trying to take over something. This is nationhood. You know what I mean? And majority of Europeans know about the union. They know that it doesn't start at the Constitution. They know that. They know it doesn't start with George Washington. They'll pretend like that's how it is, but that's not really what's going on. You know what I mean? Right? So if those didn't get answered, just send an email and we'll go further as well. Don't forget this Thursday is Sons of Allah, 9 p.m. with Mizraim L and Kudrad Oil. So you could call into that show too. And we kind of spoke, and we're probably just going to go with it. The show's supposed to be dealing with right to travel. So if you got right to travel stuff, um, Thursday, Sons of Allah, is when you could bring those ones up. All right. Um, how do we use our nationality card for exemption from taxes? Are there any other places where we can use it? Use it. Walmart, etc. And that's from, I'm gonna call him Haiti more because the stuff that he sent me. We don't demonstrate that we're kids. Because kids are baby goats. So I'm gonna say Haiti more, right? Um, so as far as the nationality card and the exemption from taxes, um, I would say to do your research on how taxes came about, the foundation of taxes, to know what those are. It doesn't have to be, go to the library and read 500 books about taxes or whatever like that. You just give yourself a, check it out. You know what I'm saying? Because um, you have, you're not gonna be, um, like for example, um, we say the term exemption, right? But like we really know that it's not that we don't have an obligation to tax. It's not that we're exempt from it. We don't have an obligation. But the cashier, they don't know about the obligation. But they do know that there are certain people who, if they have a 6-digit number, they can give the 6-digit number and it would come up on the screen that tax exempt. You know what I'm saying? Right? Which technically is, oh, so you don't, if you're tax exempt, it means that somebody's exempting you, right? But, that's only because of the occupation. That we go from the exemption perspective, but it's really, we don't have an obligation to pay taxes. That's why we don't pay them, right? Okay. And the on the nationality card, there's a 6-digit number, and if you do your research on that 6-digit number, right, you'll get more information that would more prove to you why there's no obligation. Not only that there's no obligation, but there's a reasoning behind why there's no obligation for Moors to pay foreign Europeans some type of tax for something, right? And remember, it's it's something that applies in all jurisdictions, from gum to Rolls Royce or whatever, right? If you can put the finance down to purchase it
That's it.
as a free national, you're not obligated to any tax that they want to tag onto that tag price, right? And again, it's pick your battles. So you're not gonna fight for 5 cents or something. You know what I mean, right? If you really need that, whatever it is that you're gonna get, right? You know what I'm saying? But most places, yeah, they'll take it. They know what's up. And the places that, like we tell Mars, the places that don't know what's up, if you put down your nationality card and they don't want to accept it, then you know that they don't respect you. So why would you want to give your fiat to them or your whatever you got to them? If they don't respect you enough to accept your fact of being Aboriginal and indigenous to the land, then why you do business with them? Why are you gonna give them your hard earned whatever it is? You know what I mean? Don't go there. Find somebody who does. Even if it's a mile that way and your house is right here and it's convenient to go across the street to that guy. But no, sorry.
Get that.
I mean, forget that guy. He's not getting nothing. You know what I mean? I'll go in every day. Fill up the cart, come to the corner. Sorry, we don't accept that. Okay, fine, and just leave the stuff on it every day, every day, just because. You want to be a jerk? Okay, let's play. Let's play, jerky. What? Let's play. Right. Um. So brother Haiti. With regard to the nationality card, right? It's accepted. You know what I mean? And it's a mind frame. Don't even go into the. What if they don't? Once you go there, they ain't taking it. Right. As soon as you go there, they're not taking it. Right.
Use
You
that
know,
in
and
North America.
it's because of the psychic attack. You know what I'm saying? Why we apprehensive. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We're jumpy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm
For sure.
saying? Because of the psychic attacks. You know what I mean? They made us like that. But we have to crack those things. You know what I'm saying? And just put it down, My
No tax.
nationality, like no tax. What is this? You're a foreigner. You're gonna charge me tax. Right? And they know
Canada
too. They know.
Canada and North
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
United
yeah,
States.
yeah, yeah. Because remember, it's one jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Right? Brother Mikael Bay. How does one protect their heart when in court and the judge and lawyer are doing spiritual stare downs? Okay, so as as because we know that these um, tribunals, administrative buildings, um, whatever they call them, are run by individuals who have fezzes and whatever, right? Is why the brother made reference to going to court and saying spiritual stare down, because it's real like that. Like it's not, that's how real it is, right? The behind the scenes of the court is, yeah, it's going, all rituals going on in there all day, every day, and majority of the rituals that they do are fiat rituals, right? But the
Money.
fiat rituals are um, are cloaked in terror, or cloaked with terror, cloaked with fear, you know um, nervousness, anticipation, and fidgetiness and whatever, right? All that is stuff that they personally do to create that atmosphere for that place. Anybody, whether you're national or not, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if you been in there and then you get national and then you go in there, like then you really pick up on the stuff that they do, right? Like the brother said with the stairs or whatever, right? So um, it's not being competent of who we are. Being competent of who we are, because remember you said the question was how do you protect your heart when in court, right? Being competent, because if it's here, right? When um, when a Moor is awake or aware of himself or herself, the receiver sees that and knows, you know what I mean, like humble themselves, right? Or go for the kill because if I don't do it, he's gonna get me because that's just what it is with Morris. If you're not, just go check the records. If you're not honorable, like, what is there to discuss about? If your actions are dishonorable, right? So you protect yourself by knowing yourself, because really and truly, if we have what Noble Drew Ali presented to us in our mind when we deal with these individuals, right? They will know where we're coming from. Before we get there, they would know where we're coming from. And a lot of the time, like, we forget that these people are magi and witch doctors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're not just some Europeans. A guy just has a job and he's just a judge. Nah, like Friday night, those guys are doing the rituals and stuff. Probably in the basement of that same spot. You know? Dress up in their little stuff. Right? Another thing is, if you go watch one of the Denham L lectures, he spoke a little bit about using the image of the prophet in times of adversity as a shield. Because we talk about the prophet here. You know what I mean? Same thing like, when somebody said, man says, Buddha bless you, and you go down there and you get blessed. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like using the power of the prophet. Because, if you got faith in him, then you're privy to certain stuff. Right? What can one do to not be mad and perturbed when speaking to out of order judges and attorneys? Once again, it comes back to the same thing of Noble Drew Ali said, come in an intelligent tone. So I don't care what they do or what they say. Our position is come in an intelligent tone. Because remember, it's earnestly hoped that we'll not be compared to the Back Africa movement. And the Back to Africa guys, all they want to do is yell and curse and, you know what I mean, throw stuff and riot and, you know what I mean, pull the guy off the thing, and it doesn't have to get that serious. Because these guys know what's up. It's just that, it's really about us knowing, for real. Because they know. We have to stop forgetting that they know. As soon as you go up in there, the first thing that you utter out of your mouth, they know already where you're at in your mind, and you're learning how many years you've been studying this. You know what I mean? Where you've been studying, getting your information from. That, like we're saying, when brother Murray got stopped at the border, they gave him the freaking what do you call it, the Agent Smith. Like, this is you guys stuff, right? And they were just like, you know what I mean? Like, we know about you guys. right? And we just want to be sure who's legit, who's not legit, because we know we have nothing on you guys. Like we really have nothing on you guys. There were no frauds or nothing like that. You didn't steal nothing. You try to use papers to do stuff. You just
Drug
just
cartel,
Moors.
you're not.
Yeah, like
You're not.
you know what I mean, right? You know, and what's that? Because they respect the authority. They know what it is. They know what it is. And this is high level people. These people who people on the street, whatever, don't see. They pass them straight on the street, don't even know that that was a, you know what I mean, agent of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Who knows about the Moors in Toronto very well. Probably watching right now.
Yeah.
Probably watching right now. Right? Damn, they brought us up.
How many people we have watching today? They're one of them. I don't like hell.
Right? You know what I mean? And then, again, if they're if those judges or whatever are and attorneys are out of order, right? If they're out of order, right? If there's a door and it says out of order, what does that mean? Oh, it means something doesn't work, right? It means something broken or something's missing or there's some reason why you can't okay, so as soon as they start acting out of order, they're letting you know their position. They're letting you know that you got them without saying you got us. Because if they say you got us and the court's full, then everybody who comes up there will be like, yeah, my name's Al Bayard, that guy. Whatever that guy said, I'm saying. Right? I'm going to use his stuff. Right? I can do that, right? Can I do that? This is the court. Like, you guys say friend to each other. Can I say that he's my friend and then use his stuff? Just like how you guys do it or whatever? Right? As soon as they get out of order, they're letting you know their position. And again, intelligent tone. Like, we're under occupation. And we're under occupation because we allowed it. Because Noble Drawley came since 1913, and these punks chose to side and go do other stuff instead of rep your salvation. So you can have something today. They didn't even think about you and us. We weren't even a prophet said, oh yeah, this is for the unborn generations or whatever. And these guys don't even care about the generation after them. Which is why Noble Drawley said, oh yeah, this is for the unborn generations, because they already knew all these guys were going to sell out. They already know they're going to sell out.
First round is.
From the first round, they sold out. You don't have to go no 12 rounds, You already know you sold out. Just give this guy the belt and just, you know what I mean? What are you guys trying to keep the stuff going for? You just give the man the belt, It's done. Right? So, Brother Mikhail, right? Noble Drawley said to the Moors, keep your heart clean. Water. So it'll help to have a bottle of water every time you go to court too. Right? And again, if the question wasn't answered, just send an email. Brother Latif Bey, please explain USA on the temple card and part and parcel. I've been asked these questions frequently. The FBI file says it's part and partial. I know USA is Unity Salvation Allah, but where can I show brothers that want to see? Okay, so first thing is the USA on the card, right? So I am a citizen of USA, right? I'm a citizen of USA, right? So there's unity, right? So the handshake is unity, right? Okay? And Islam is our salvation, right? Which is the S. And then The 7, you see right there, it already says Allah. So there's the proof that the card says Unity Salvation Allah as far as USA. I am a citizen of USA. But how can you be a citizen of Unity Salvation Allah? Because the Moorish movement is a government. That's why I can be a citizen of it. Right? This is not some clubism. There's a flag, a national flag flying in these temples. Why is an organization that has nothing to do with national anything flying a national flag? It obviously has purpose. It's obviously establishing a jurisdiction, right? And the part and partial and part and parcel, right? Just research them. Just go to the library and ask them, "Yo, I want a book on part and parcel, and I want a book on part and partial." You could also use the Google librarian too, because that librarian's pretty good. She finds some stuff sometimes. So you could ask her, Google librarian. Just Google it and see what comes up. And ask yourself, how come only one of these keep coming up no matter which one I put in? And then you'll know which one is legit. And then you're not going to worry about what anybody says, well, it's partial because the Cooks County Register Office has the document that says whatever, whatever, You find me somewhere that says part and partial and breaks it down in a definition, okay, I might consider it. I might consider it. Because all you have to really do is look up part and then look up partial or parcel. And you'll know what they mean. They know exactly what they mean. That's why you're supposed to have dictionaries. That's one of your tools when you're using the workshop of the mind. The dictionary. It's just something that you gotta have. Right? So Brother Latif, that was yours. This email was from Kepper M. At. Once I'm clear and well studied and am able to stand or ready to claim and announce on the record publicly my nationality, one, do I join a temple or should I do that now? And should I put the state or county I am living on notice too? And two, will I be able to operate as far as earning a living with these same corporations? Okay, well, the first thing is you sent a message with regarding publicly proclaiming your nationality. And Noble Drew Ali, once again, in the 101 questionnaire, it's online, you just punch it up and look it up and read it, right? He said, or he asked the question, what is your nationality? And the reply is Moorish American, right? So he never said that your nationality is Temple 8577 whatever, or Temple head of the whatever, right? He said your nationality is Moorish American. Why are you Moorish American? Because I'm a descendant of Moroccans born in America. So you're not Moorish American because Temple told you that you're Moorish American. You're not a Moorish American because Boudreaux said. You're not Moorish American because Noble Drew Ali said. You're Moorish American because you know thyself. Right? And then when you get to that point, you're supposed to be adept or considered adept Because if you once you know you're not Negro, black, colored, and anything else, and you can say that you're a Moor, like when you tell people, well, if you're not black, if I'm not black, what am I? I'm a Moor. No, I can't be a Moor. Those are Arabs, whatever. Say you're a Moor. Well, I'm not a Moor. I'll never be a Moor because Moors are the whatever, and they sold people into slavery. Yeah, but you're a Moor. Just say it. Moor means dark person. Just say it, and they'll never say it. Right? If you're like that, then don't even talk about, you know, how should you put the state on notice and claiming nationality and all that stuff, because you already kill your own flex. That all these papers that you're sending out are going to be worth dick just because you're not invoking the papers or the card or whatever it is that says your nationality is whatever. You have to invoke that, but you're only going to invoke that by knowing. So you can go to Canaanland Moors and just look up on YouTube, nationality as a mindset. And you can just go watch that and recognize what nationality is and how it applies to you. Because you're right, you know, um, you don't want to go do stuff if you don't know, but you also don't want to not claim your nationality just because you don't kind of understand it or I'm trying to get it, so I'm not going to claim it. Yeah, at least claim it to yourself. At least say, Keper M Ma'at El or Keper M Ma'at Bay until, you're sure. But at least that way in your subconscious, it's there, it's resonating, you know what I mean? And the information might gravitate to you sooner, right? And then as far as operating or earning a living, um, there are Moors who have used their nationality card, gotten jobs with school boards, gotten jobs with whoever, right? But the problem that arises is when a corporation hires a Moor, they can't take taxes off. And if they can't take taxes off, that means they have to pay them. And they're not paying double, triple, or whatever tax. So they'll quicker, not hire you, right? Because why? Well, who wants to pay? Why am I paying your tax? You know what fiat that is or whatever. I'm paying you and I'm paying them, and I'm paying you what the salary says. Right? Right? I'm paying you what the salary says. Nothing taken off. Like nothing at all. No pension, no nothing. Right? You know what I mean? So, you might do it and you might get if that's what you want to do. Now if you have a trade, I suggest you do that. You know what I mean? If you have a trade, go hard on your trade. Make your trade your occupation. You know what I mean? And then do that in your free national name, and then that way you're still not getting taxed because you're charging whatever it is that you charge. You know what I mean? You're not taxing them, and then you make whatever it is that you do tax free. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, be clear. Yeah, once you're clear and well studied is key, right? Be clear and well studied, but not because you're not clear and unstudied means that you're not gonna. If somebody says, what's your nationality? Well, I'm studying it. I'm not really there yet. Whatever. You're Eller Bay. Like, let them know. You know what I mean? Let them know. That's just who you are. Can't get around that, right? Um, the next question was from Yusuf Bey. Being that there are Moors in every state who proclaim their nationality, know their status, and affix the L and B, etc., why are we still dealing in courts as case-by-case situation? We should not be letting our brother or sister stand alone. Did we not also agree to assist all in this movement? So the issue with the assisting all in this movement is that we're supposed to be nation states. Right? Every jurisdiction where there's Moors is supposed to be a state of the Moors, right? Forget about um, those guys have an office over there and they're saying that they're the government or whatever. Forget them. We're supposed to have our own governmental jurisdiction that we exercise in and out of, that those people know about. They've engaged since 1913. They've been engaging these group of people called Moorish Americans, right? And it's it's not supposed to be an issue of going to court. Like we gave an example of, the Moor that is an attorney, right?
Okay.
He's an attorney, right? So this is what he does.
Yeah.
He's an attorney, right? But he's a Moorish American. Okay? So he has a license and he drives a car with plates. And he has gone to court and gotten tickets dismissed. Right? Not talking about El Bay or nothing like that. Talking about the Constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That is his Constitution. That says he's not Negro, black, colored. That his ancestors have been in this land. And the judge is telling him that you're what? Case closed. Not even bringing up license plates from the state or none of that.
Doesn't get that far.
Doesn't even get that far. Doesn't even get into talking about anything. Right? This is a individual who's an attorney. Right? Okay. So we're dealing in the courts case by case because, Moore's got licenses that they have that are suspended, that they're using still because, you gotta get around and, you know what I'm saying? And no insurance, but you gotta get around, you have a family and, you know what I mean? You're being careful and if I don't get stopped, everything will be all right. And, if I do get stopped, at least I have nationality I could fall back on. So, I'll take my chances or whatever. You know what I mean? Right? So, what things that a lot of people, when consider this, that always keep in consideration that everything was already done and people killed it. Right? There wasn't supposed to be these hassles. Every time you reach somewhere where you're getting hassled, remember, am I supposed to be dealing with this? Like, why am I dealing with this situation? Don't you automatically look at the European and they have a court and they're violating you and all that stuff, right? Go to the root of the problem. What's the root of the problem? Because Noble Drew Ali brought all this information out for everybody to have, right? Had people like Oscar the Priest on his side telling people that the Constitution and that those historical documents should be taught in the schools. Whatever organization, group, whatever you got, you guys should be studying the Constitution. A guy who they recognize as the first black congressman of Chicago. Telling them. And he was a member of the temple when he won congressman. He wasn't a black guy. Don't compare him to the Back to Africa movement and all that. He was a temple member that won a seat, a congressman's seat in Chicago. But they're not recognizing Noble Drew Ali. They don't want to see what he did. Right? We wanna know how come we we're dealing with these courts and stuff like that. People sold out. People took your birthright and sold out. Didn't tell you anything. Remember, 1972, more got nationalized. And 2014, he's just finding out about a law dictionary.
And his role in law.
And his role as far as nationality is concerned and what encompasses nationality. That's what people did to this.
40 years.
Right? And as you know, we'll 2 more pages of questions. We have about a half hour. We'll see how we do. But so every Moor that has El or Bay on his name, right, is a nation state. Unfortunately, they're assuming that we're Negroes at times, so we have to stand up for our nationality and birthrights that we're Moors at any cost, right? If we have to be in a situation where we're dealing with those individuals. Now, if you're a Moor who is, sound of nationality and birthrights, but you happen to have a license, right? And your stuff is free, your stuff is clean, you got no record and everything's good and whatever like that, and the last 5 times that you got stopped, you just gave your license and he just said, oh, well, whatever, and whatever, right? And then just chill there for now, right? If you want, get it, fight it, don't be fighting them on the spot about, nothing.
Yeah.
Take the little thing and then fight it after. Don't be fighting with that officer about something, about law, where's his stuff, where's his whatever, right? Because then, again, on the assumption that we're Negro, I don't care what card you show or whatever, you're a Negro to me, you know what I mean? On that assumption, us being, confrontational is a threat to those people. So, again, intelligent tone. But Drawley told you what to do, right? Unfortunately, yes, we have to deal with them. And it's a case-by-case situation because everybody's situation is completely different. I don't know why that Moore did whatever he did, but he had to get in the car to go to wherever he was going. And then he just happened to get stopped this one time out of the 500 times that he's been doing this for the past 20 years. This one time. And it goes how it goes. Right? Unfortunately. Right? So we just stay strong, stand on your square, you know what I mean? And make sure that on top of all this other stuff that we're doing, that we're also uplifting fallen humanity because that's really the duty. Get this information to people so people can know. They can't say that they weren't told if we tell them. If we tell them, they can't have any excuse. They can't have no excuse whatsoever. So let's just tell them. Let's just tell them. Let's just give them a piece of paper with something on it with regard to what Mawuju Ali brought and their nationality and birthrights. At least that way they can't say that I wasn't told. Right? You got something, right? Could there not be a way that Moors can network with a notice, email, something like that, when the others is needed in court? Now again, it comes back to jurisdiction. If you're a nation state, you should have a group of Moors that are in your jurisdiction. If you're not amongst a group of Moors that are in a jurisdiction, right? I'm pretty sure that there are Negro, black, color people in that jurisdiction. Go get them people and get them to be Moors. Right? Because trust me, amongst Negro, black, color people, there's always a Moor. That's just in the cut. Because the Moors around. So let me just chill on the low. But as soon as he hears Islam or a, you know what I mean, Mawuju Ali or a Mexam or, nationality or, Circle 7 or something like that, they'll get down. They'll know what's up, right? They'll know what's up immediately, right? And um, with regard to the email, or no, with regard to the notice, the networking notice, right? Um, if we're in different jurisdictions and I have to be able to get to your jurisdiction, right? This is why there was emergency funds and stuff like that that people robbed, right? That had hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, that all of a sudden disappeared, right? Because that's what those funds were for. For example, that if your grand sheik can't make the court session, right, where you made, because you're a temple member, quote unquote, and that's your quote unquote representation, right? You put them on notice, and the grand sheik, whoever, goes and does what he or she is supposed to do as your representative. But you have to be the one to call them on that, which means you have to have the knowledge of consular relations, which is now another jurisdiction of whatever studying that we ain't ever heard about. We're not looking into it. We wouldn't even consider it, right? Because somebody dropped the ball. Somebody was supposed to tell, and they didn't tell. So now we're here talking about, how can we network when what you're talking about, networking, is consular relations, right? You know what I mean? Just to show how much people weren't telling us, like, right? How much people weren't telling us, right? How is it that we Moors are still dealing with, for one, the driver's license issue? To me, I'm thinking that based on the number of Moors in that state with the same issue, we could file one affidavits to put the courts in the area on notice of their status and then update periodically, right? Come back to the same thing. The objective of having a temple is that the temple, when you proclaim your nationality to the temple is supposed to be taking that position of letting everybody else know that that's the position that you're taking, because that's your representation. No different than the Negro is going to say, Congressman, whatever is my representation. The exact same thing, right? Nor than the Italian guy is going to go to the Italian embassy, because that's where he's supposed to go if there's an issue, right? The exact same thing, the function of the temple, which is why we keep pushing people that, yeah, go there and put your hand up, ask questions and stuff like that, especially pertaining to your birthright, because that's what they're there for. When you watch all these Canaanland Morse classes or whatever like that, and we're talking about civics and going in law dictionaries, looking up definitions and things like that, right? That's supposed to be standard across the board. That's what is supposed to be the standard. Studying law, knowing about your birthright, your nationality, right? The divine side and the national side of it, you know, right? So, the issue of, you know, taking the affidavits and putting the courts in the area on notice, that's nation state business. That's the Moors coming together as a jurisdiction of quote unquote grand body and exercising as such. And just exercising as such. Right? Because Noble Drew Ali told us that he's going to make us better citizens. We were citizens already, but we weren't good. He was coming to make us better. And in making us better, we realize, we recognize things, and then we exercise more and further and do greater things, right? Um, so, and it's not a thing of like, you know, it's 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 recognizing what we are up against, right? We're not up against, you know, something invisible. We're up against a real conspiracy to
Yeah.
keep the concept of Moorish nationality and birthrights out of circulation, right? Do whatever it is, but don't talk about it. It's not supposed to be talked about. That above Mexico is
Yeah.
Morocco. It's not supposed to be talked about.
You don't want to hear
That this is northwest of Mexum, right? Not only Africa is a Mexum, over here is a Mexum too. Just like not only over there is Morocco, over here is Morocco too. You know what I'm saying? And once they keep that information out, right? Once they keep that information out, it's designed for us to have to be, dealing with their courts, not knowing how to deal with it, them railroading us, us thinking that, oh, it's some process that I didn't do right or whatever like that, when, it has nothing to do with process. They're going to railroad you from the jump.
Yeah.
So they seen the angle that you were coming with. They know that you didn't yet have the full knowledge. They know that you don't have the full 33 degrees. You know what I mean? So, Brother Yusuf, just go back again. You know what I mean? Digest this again. And if you are in a jurisdiction where there's a temple, go there and these same questions that you're asking, ask that grand chief, ask that grand governor, ask that head of the temple who says that they're the head, and Friday come and ask any question, we'll answer it. Ask them they're that. And if the answer isn't to your liking, then that lets you know, right, that it's Moabite time. I am 100 bailiffs, and I'm about to stand up on my birthright. Let me go get some people to stand up on my birthright with me. You know what I mean? And if I'm not able to find anybody to stand up on my birthright with me, let me support people who are standing up for their birthright, so that when I'm standing up on mine, at least I have some type of support.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if it's moral, spiritual, mental, emotional support. You know. The next question was from Sister Amala L. What is a bill of attainder? When and how do you use a bill of attainder? Now, with regard to the when and how do you use a bill of attainder, you'll just do your research on the Constitution, and that there shall be no bill of attainders. Now, the reason why there's no bill of attainders, because an attainder is the extinction of civil rights and capacities which takes place whenever a person who has committed treason or felony receives sentence of death for his crime. The effect of attainder upon such felon in general stems that all his estate, real and personal, is forfeited. It differs from conviction in that it is after judgment, whereas conviction is upon verdict of guilty, but before judgment pronounced, and may be quashed upon some point of law reversed, or judgment may be arrested. The consequence of attainder are forfeiture of property and corruption of blood. At the common law, attainder resulted in three ways: by confession, by verdict, and by process of outlawry. The first case was where the prisoner pleaded guilty at the bar, or having fled to sanctuary, confessed his guilt, and abjured the realm to save his life. The second was where the prisoner pleaded not guilty at the bar, and the jury brought in a pleaded not guilty, and the jury brought in a verdict against him. The third, when the person accused made his escape and was outlawed. Right? So what we're gonna remember is that right? Bill of attainder. Right? The third, when the person accused made his escape and was outlawed. So this is another reason why you won't use it. Because it would admit that we are for slavery, even though it's abolished, right? And it would monkey wrench the real plan. Because this is just putting the karmic wheel right back in motion again for why we're in the situation that we're in the first place, right? Bill of attainder. And remember that the Negro supposedly already lost his rights, right? So what is it that they're using that to go get? The actual estate, not necessarily to go get the body, right? Not necessarily to have the body, but to be able to have the jurisdiction over the estate, right? And then, as you know, the bill is just legislative jurisdiction. So it's a bill of attainder, then that means the legislative body is the one that put the bill. And then if you check out, there's people that put bill of attainders on corporations. So a corporation has a certain amount of money, and they're doing whatever with the assets, and a certain legislative agent doesn't like them, they can issue a bill of attainder to criminalize them for whatever he thinks they're doing wrong. And then that'll go to, whatever the jurisdiction is that would oversee the matter and see if, okay, well, is this bill of attainder legit, or is this guy just trying to be an idiot because, these guys are making more money than him or whatever, right? The next, no, it's just the Amala L's question. The next set of questions, that we got 843. Okay. How do we know that the science of the breath works? Why and how should we activate the pineal gland? You're gonna do some research on, it should be on YouTube, Alim El Bey Holy Breath. So you can go Alim El Bey Holy Breath. As well, you can go to Canaanland Moore's Delaware lecture and go to the Alim El Bey part, right? And like Brother Crackpit said, how do you know the science of breath works? You try it. You actually get involved, right? So that should answer the question when you go check those classes that Alim Bey's got. And if you don't see anything on YouTube, just go to his site, dralimlbay.com. And if you go on his site, or you go on YouTube and look up C. Freeman L., you should have a breath class as well, dealing with the science of the breath. And then that goes into the second question of, once it's open, managing the flow of information that the universe provides, and all that is part of being involved with it. When you exercise, actually, you could also check out, there's a sister, Goddess Nanu, that does, what do you call it, meditative, like circles and things like that. So you can meditate with other people, right? Godis, Goddess Nanu, Nanu. right? And she got some information with regard to the same thing, science of the breath, meditation, yoga, whatever else, all of the quote unquote Eastern philosophies that we think have nothing to do with us, but adopt all of them, right? Um, what's the square, and how does a Moor know they are ready to stand on it? Well, the square is one of the tools of the workshop of the mind. The square is also in masonry building. The square is also a 90-degree angle. Square is also box, cube. Um, but the reality of the square is having your corners tight, right? Making sure that you are who you say you are and you know it and you can demonstrate that in your vocabulary or in your interaction, if it's not verbal, physical, if it's mental, you know what I mean? It might be a mental conversation, right? Not necessarily words, right? Standing on your square is, um, it's kind of, taboo or whatever, but, it's a real powerful position, right? Um, if you have the corner, if you control the corner, you can see the full view, right? Um, the corners are integral parts, right? So standing on your square ultimately just means really knowing yourself, right? Really having knowledge of self, not playing around, not guessing about stuff, humming. You know what it is when asked. When you have to present, you present with. You present by standing on your square. You present by speaking the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you, right? Um, what type of writs might one need? Um, again, RVBA publication, writs of freedom page, and Moorish Nation public records. Moorish Nation public records, you have ample amounts of writs on that site that you can use as a template for studying or for creating your own writs, right? Um, Moors always talk about putting people on notice. How do we enforce our law on those who have been informed but fail to acknowledge the facts? The failure to acknowledge the facts is because, one, they're colored, and two, the facts that you present, if they acknowledge it, that means that they have to close up whatever it is that they're defending or that they're representing from. So don't necessarily expect them to accept the facts. You just make sure that you state them and put them on notice of your claim. And not just put them on notice, but also put other people on notice. Also, get their pictures if you can, and get their names, and put their fraud on expose. Because if they're fraudulently doing something to you, right, you should be putting that on the public record. The fact that these people are a fraud, not that they frauded you, right? If somebody finds out, it's like if you know that somebody's a fraud, you're not gonna talk about a fraud, stole, whatever. You're gonna talk about the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not gonna talk about what was defrauded. You're gonna talk about the person who committed the fraud. So, and again, that comes back to the court questions with society eventually becoming the court because all the courts are unlawful. So there's gonna have to be court somewhere. If it really goes down to it. There's gonna have to be court somewhere, and real court would take place when the people realize that this is their birthright. People have been taking advantage of their birthright, and it's time for them to make their claim. And once everybody has knowledge of who they are and makes their claim, things would immediately start to change. Guaranteed. No, not even no questions asked. Guaranteed things will start changing. But, it comes back again. 1913, we've been supposed to have this. And we're just getting this now. Right? So don't worry about them failing to acknowledge facts and stuff like that. You do what you're supposed to do as a Moor, because if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then they're gonna assume that you're a nigger, and they're gonna deal with you under Spanish Inquisition and black codes and all that. So, which one you want? Fight as a Moor or get the Christian black codes? Right? That's the option. Right? Once again, question: how does one know they have tapped into their higher self? That's not even something that you can be told how to know that. You're gonna know. Trust me, you'll know. Right? There's no lessons on how to tap in, right? Or knowing when to tap in, or what does it feel like. That's that person's perspective of what it felt like tapping in. Everybody's perspective is different. You might have tapped in because you had to climb that tree, a bear was coming, and you tapped in that way. You know what I mean? Right? So, as far as tapping into your higher self, you will know when you tap in. Nobody could tell you that. The science of libations and why we should know and use it, if at all. Um, the science of libation is one of the most sacred rituals that our people had. And the ritual was so sacred that the ritual was so sacred that they even attached that ritual to their lie about the higher force being called God, right? Because the etymology of God also means to pour out. And libation is the ritual of pouring out. So when you do that ritual of libation, right, that's really the being God, or I don't know what, Godding, right? The verb, the verb transitive, right? Godding. The actual ritual of pouring out the water, calling the ancestors, and all that is invoking God, right? So libations are, yeah. If you do some libations, put some libations up, and call out any ancestors, all ancestors, right? Especially ones in your family, because they're closer than you think. What is Mu and where are its people today? Um, Before we can go into all that, I'm gonna just say go look up James Churchward. James Churchward has some info on that, and you could also look up um, the life and teaching of the masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. Baird, letter T, Spalding. The life and teaching of the masters of the Far East. And that all ties in with Mu, right? Um, the teachings that Buddha received came from the same source as did those of Osiris, but in a different way. The teachings that Buddha contacted came from the motherland direct to Burma, brought there by the Nakals. Osiris' teachings came direct to him, as his forefathers lived in the motherland, and when he was a young man, he had gone to the motherland to study. And that is reference to Mu and the Nakals, Naacals. Right? And the Nakals were supposed to be the people of Mu, right? Um, 5 minutes. You got maybe. Let's read all these questions and see what we can do. What to do when an officer asks for a license? I see public officers being less than honorable, right? So once again, if you ain't got no issues and your stuff is straight and you have no problems, don't call problems to yourself, right? Give the guy a license, get the whatever, and deal with whatever it is in court. Don't argue with that guy. Because if you argue with that guy, you'll probably end up getting kidnapped, getting your car vandalized or something like that, getting your car kidnapped, and then having some type of feudal fees attached to that. You got to pay that to get your stuff back when you could have just showed the license and then just drove off with a $20 or a $30 ticket and then just take that to court and fight it in court if you really want to fight it, right? Don't create problems for yourself just because you're coming into this, you know, newfound wealth of information, and you think that everything has to stop because I'm on this new information, so everything has to stop, and then I could do this. No, like, don't even go there. You know what I mean? Business as usual until you get straight with this in your mind. Mm-hmm. You don't want to play around with these people. They are kidnapping people, right? They do that. It's not something that we, oh yeah, we think they do that. They do that. They take people, right? So avoid them at all costs. Whatever rituals, look up protection rituals and stuff like that. Do all those stuff. Invoke all that. Get some crystals and all that. Put crystals all around the car. Whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? But invoke something because, you know, again, it's quote unquote officers. You know, them people ain't officers. As soon as you call them officers, you give them the power to be dishonorable, right? Or less than honorable, right? Um, how can a person go about proving they are a more on paper? By making sure you're the one that wrote that paper. Because if you're a more and that's your paper, you should have wrote it. Somebody else wrote it, that ain't your paper, so don't talk about your anything, right? The only way is you having the knowledge of self so that you can exercise what needs to be exercised. Anything that somebody else has is only a template for you to do what you're supposed to do for self, right? Um, is there a government group or organization that backs people's claims and proclamations of being national? Once again, right? That's what the purpose of being a nation state is, right? You are the government or group or organization that backs up your claim of being national because you were the one that wrote it and you were the one that put those people on notice, including whatever temple it is or whatever that you belong to. You know what I mean? If they're not working in order and doing it for you, you put them on notice that you let everybody know about your proclamation. Because they're your temple, so they should know. You know what I mean? Even though they know already, but you know, their job is to go and tell everybody else, but they're playing religious games. They're not playing governmental. So you're gonna be the government and exercise as um, emissary, exercise as uh, consular, right, or a consul. Um, exercise your birthright. Because if you don't exercise it, don't expect somebody else to do it. Because, like we said, Moore got nationalized in '72, and he never found out his birthright till 2014. So don't expect somebody to tell you about your birthright. You better know, right? Um, if rules, uh, okay, so rules and regulations that blacks fall under. how do nationals deal with that? And again, right, all comes back to knowing thyself. But if you know yourself, you immediately know when they're going to try the black code stuff. Immediately. You see it immediately. And soon, if you know yourself, as soon as that thing comes in the mail, you know, you guys are trying to pass what I caught you, right? You know what's up. Because they always try stuff to try to get you in the jurisdiction. But only with studying would you recognize the games that they play, right? So, and again, the rules and regulations only apply to those who are in the jurisdiction of the rules and regulations, especially if the rules and regulations were created by a foreigner, right? By a foreigner, okay? What is the best way to free yourself from contempt if one were to talk about this in court? Now, once again, you want to be Negro, black, colored people talking about national stuff in court because you will be in contempt. And they would have a right to do that because you're a crazy person. You're supposed to be mute. Why are you talking? Shut up, you know what I mean? And those thoughts, right? If you'd say one more thing, you know, I'm going to charge you and all that, right? As Moors, once again, it's not supposed to get that far. Remember that Moor, he didn't talk about nothing. Moor that's an attorney, remember. A Moor that's an attorney. It didn't even go into subject matter. Immediately, no jurisdiction, case dismissed. Right? Okay. So to free yourself from contempt, stay out them spots. Stay out them spots. Only if you have to be up in there should you be in there. Right? If you don't have to be up in there, don't try to be up in there to go test stuff out and whatever like that. You know, unless it's real small. You know, $20 ticket, $30 ticket, you can't lose nothing or whatever. Yeah, go try some stuff, you know, have fun or whatever. But do not have some big stuff and play around with it.
You really want to be in there.
You don't want to go in there because if the jurisdiction is colored, like anything could go down in there. Anything, right? So we're just gonna close out. Islam to all the Moors. Everybody who had a question. Yeah, Islam to restore pride. The the so-called natives that we had some dealings with, just so people don't think that we hate all the Indians. Some of them are actually down for the cause. You know what I mean? Some of them are actually down for nationality and birthrights. So you don't discard all of them. You need some. There's a lot more. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Don't forget Blog Talk Radio coming up 9:30. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Islam. Peace and love, noble Moors. Bokari, I hope you got the email. Just call me later or something. So Islam to all the Moors. We'll connect soon. All the Moors worldwide. Stay active. All the active Moors, keep doing what you do. All the passive Moors, get active. All the dirty Moors, we hate you too. And just continue to put the word out that nationality and birthrights is on the front burner. It's accessible for people who want it, but they gotta want to study. Islam to all the Moors, peace and love. And don't forget Blog Talk Radio, 9:30. Blog Talk Radio, MHHS, eyes wide open. And same Blog Talk channel, Thursday, 9 p.m., Sons of Allah, with myself, Kudrado L, and Brother Muzraim L. Islam Morris, peace and love.